A man, a heterosexual man, is nothing without a woman. Zero, nothing. Ask him. Listen to me. Ask any heterosexual man and he'll tell you, without women, this don't work.
What's going on, Rebel family? All you revolutionary-minded people out there? Today's video, Old Simps, Dating, and Millennials. But before we get to the video, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to the channel. So today's video comes from certain social media posts that have gone viral and had a lot of people upset, particularly from different generations. The generation that Steve Harvey comes from, the baby boomers, and my generation, Generation X, they couldn't understand this video, the majority. And let's jump right into the video here.
On a second date with Tinder girl, and she's paying with coins.
So that was the video, and the video showed a excuse me.
On a second date with Tinder girl, and she's paying with coins.
Just to play it again here. Okay, so the video shows a guy out on a date, on a second date, in fact, with a girl that he met on Tinder, and she's paying with coins. And what I saw under the comments, a lot of people, including guys in Generation X, were saying that they would have actually paid for the girl's meal. You know, of course, women, he shouldn't have videoed it and he shouldn't have put that up. He's wrong. You know, why is he doing this? And we all know if the roles were reversed, if it was a man that went out on a date with a woman, you know, those people wouldn't have kept the same energy. First, he shouldn't be going on a date if he can't pay for it, pay for her and him, let alone only pay for his meal. But he shouldn't have gone on the date if he didn't have his own money, etc., etc. It would have been all these, you know, shaming tactics that would have been thrown the young brother's way. But in this regard, it's a young woman, so many men, oh, I would have paid, and so forth and so on. And that's all well and good, but in this dating age, it's not like the 90s or the 70s when Steve Harvey came through in the 90s when I was in my 20s. So things are different, you know. These guys are like, hey, these women have to have their own, and especially if she invites me on a date, she has to be able to pay, not that I'm going to just, you know, arbitrarily pay and so forth and so on. So how would Steve Harvey look at it? Well, let's jump in this and see what Steve Harvey would say about this.
So here's the question. When do you think it's appropriate to start splitting the bill on dates?
I am more than happy to go Dutch. I believe in equality for all, so I like the yin and the yang of a guy paying sometimes, I'll pay sometimes. It kind of sets the tone for a relationship, and you know, I got your back, you got my back. Having said that, if it is the first date, he better offer to pay or there will not be a second date.
And I gotta say this, as if he would be offended that there wouldn't be a second date, when men are in the minority, women are in the majority. So he has more to choose from. And if it's not going to be you, then no problem. No second date, no problem. He can get a first date with someone else. It is not a big issue for these young guys today.
I will say I love it as a gesture. I think it's really sweet and I appreciate it, but a lot of times I feel like, no, I want to go Dutch on the first date because we're both feeling each other out and I don't want someone to assume something. So I like going Dutch on the first date.
Well, and listen to all the claps. People agree with that. She likes going Dutch on the first date. Like, so there's no expectations. He doesn't expect anything from me because I pay for my own dinner. We just both, you know, shared time, and that's what it is. But I pay for myself, he paid for his dinner, and let's go. These are how the millennials are thinking. This is different from what was going on in the 90s, and like I said, especially with Steve Harvey.
I mean, I feel like it just depends on the delivery, right?
Yes.
Like if the check comes and he looks over at me like,
yeah.
then sir, you need to go ahead and put down on this, and I'm gonna go. Never to be seen again. But I think that needs to be discussed early on, right? Like how much of a date is this? Are you interested in courting me for real? Or did you ask me out, or did I ask you out? Or was this like a setup by friends? I feel like those things need to be discussed early on. Communication will eliminate any room for error in that situation.
Yeah.
And we see here how the millennials think, or the younger generation thinks. She specified a few different things. Who asked who out? That's a big thing. Because if you ask me out, then you're expected to pay. If I ask you out, then I'm expected to pay, right? Are we going courting? Is just a date? Are we it's just a date? Or are we thinking we're going to take this thing a little bit further? All those different things matter, but not to Steve Harvey.
Have we done this poor of a job with our young men?
Yeah.
Have we not taught
So right away, shaming tactics here.
our younger men what this is really supposed to be about?
And who sets these, what it's really supposed to be? Who sets these rules? You? Times change, buddy. Because when you were coming up, 60s, whenever he was born, he's 60 years old, so what he was born in maybe born in the 60s, I don't know how old this guy is. Born in the 50s, 60s, one of the two, right? Depending on when he was born, there was open Jim Crow laws, right? So do those standards still apply, or do times change?
I'm sorry, the way it is supposed to work, and I can appreciate everything you all are saying because you're women.
So he doesn't really appreciate what they're saying because they have no agency. You guys, he's basically just told those women, you're wrong, I'm right, this is how it's supposed to be.
Quite naturally, you set the tone for how
No, they
you
don't.
are.
No, they don't.
But let me
You
say
gotta
this
tell
to
them they're
men.
wrong.
It's the proper thing to do.
Who says so?
It's the right thing to do,
Says who, Steve Harvey?
and it's the way it should be done.
Based on what rules and what standard? That's what I want to know.
You got a lot of nerve. You know, dudes kill me because we got a lot of nerve thinking this thing is 50-50. Because I got news for you, it ain't.
And the one woman just basically stated that hey, she'd rather go Dutch on the first date. And now he's gonna get into something totally different, and then he's wrong about it too. So this guy's nuts.
They happen to have a skill set that you'll never possess. They can produce another human life.
Okay.
That's-
They can't produce it by themselves, idiot. And we actually carry the seed, so we actually have we have the life. We have the life seed, not women. Yes, do they carry it and give birth and so forth? And so, yes, they do all that, but that's not the point. The point is, you know, he's wrong. I can't take any more of his simping. You know, I gotta get away from Steve Harvey and his simping. So we'll go back here. But I want to jump into the next viral moment here, if you will. And these things are funny because millennials, they think totally different than we do, right? Okay, so this comes from this came off of Twitter, and it's a conversation between a young man and a young woman here, apparently, that the young man texts the woman to say, hey, you want to go out tonight? And then she says, after what you did last time, you expect me to go out with you? You expect me to go out with you again? Wow. And my man I believe he's sincerely confused about what he's done here. He says, what have I done? Which is hilarious. She's definitely offended by, the next part here. You made me pay for my own food and drink while you paid only for yours. What the F? And then he's like, so? You invited me. LOL. You are lucky you didn't pay for my food too. Plus, I got a carbonara and a beer while you got lobster and an 80-pound wine. I don't know what I'm old, so I don't know what that carbonara is. Anyway, he said my food was 17 pounds and 17.50 pounds, while yours was 110 pounds, right? In dollars, that's over what? Maybe that's 1 pound is $1. I think it's 20, maybe about $20 and 120, maybe $130. I'm not sure what the exchange rates between pound, or excuse me, those are euros. Excuse me, euros. I'm looking at this wrong. Euros and dollars. Anyway, and you were really expecting me to pay that? I'm a student, not your sugar daddy. My man got straight to the point. She's like, wow, you are so rude. But he's telling the truth. I'm never going out with you ever again. If you can't pay for a girl's food, then why accepting the invite? He needs to go back to school also or something. But anyway, so you invited him. Why not? Why weren't you gonna pay? Why would you invite somebody and then expect for them to pay when you made the invite? That's silly. But anyway, and then expect for him to pay, right? So they continue. So she says, gentlemen always pay for girls' food, but I guess you are gay. Like, what? She said a gentleman always pays for girls' food, and then says, you're gay, as if a gay guy can't be a gentleman also. It's crazy. Anyway, he says, actually, I am a gentleman. That's why I stayed and not left while you were talking about how much you like, must be some other dude, and that you wanted to make out with him. She says, F off, and it must cause his name here. All you wanted anyway is to have sex with me. Anyway, bye, loser. And then he says, well, of course, I wanted to have sex with you, but then I realized, I might not have the 20 euros for that. And she calls him an effing a-hole. And then he puts up the love, the Stalin making a love or heart sign, like as if he loves you. So he kind of owned this chick, and he was in the right. She invited him out, and then she proceeded to think that she was going to get a lavish meal. And simps like Steve Harvey are not even factoring in that there are a lot of women who just go out on dates just to get a free meal. That is a thing now. It wasn't necessarily, it was a thing in terms of when I came through in the 90s. I don't believe it was so much of a thing when he came through in the 70s, 80s, or whatever. It was, girls try to, we called it, you're not gonna gas me, or you're not gonna get me to be a simp, or you're not gonna gank me or whatever out my money. Girls will try to get dudes for their paper, and so it was a bit of a thing in the 90s. But let's jump over here and check out what Steve Harvey is saying now.
Hey, Steve. I've been single for a long time. I mean, a long time. So I'll go on those dates.
How long is that, babe? Ma'am.
That dude called himself. He said, "Babe, not ma'am. Yeah, you can get a sexual harassment charge. A chick gonna me too you in a few years."
No, about 17 years.
Oh, okay.
I go on these dates.
He said, "Oh, okay. She hasn't been out and dating in 17 years. So obviously she was dating in. She's probably married also. So she was probably dating in the 90s. She's probably in her, in her 20s in the 90s. So she's in my generation at least. If not, she's in between the baby boomers and Generation X. But I think the cutoff, she would still be Generation X. And, she's on these modern dating sites. And these modern dating sites, unless they specifically say for people over 50, which she appears to be over 50, they are not geared for what we want.
Dating website advice things, and I read recently that a woman should offer to pay for 50%, half the dinner on the first date. So they said men would definitely say no, but they'll appreciate the effort. Well, the last couple of times they've said yes. So I thought, this backfired. Let me see.
Yes, it backfired because she wasn't being sincere. She didn't sincerely want to pay for the men's meals, and they must have picked up on it, and they called her on it. And if she was being sincere, then it wouldn't have mattered. If you sincerely wanted to enjoy a man's company and you didn't mind paying, then it wouldn't have been an issue. But obviously you did, so you shouldn't have offered. That was a lie, and you're being phony right there.
So, well, my question
And she got called
is,
out on it, which is good.
do men really appreciate it, and should women offer to pay for half on the first date?
No, they don't appreciate it, and you shouldn't offer it. It's just, look.
And see, what is Steve Harvey talking about? Men don't appreciate it. Where is he? See, he's been married and divorced too many times, and he comes from a generation that's long past gone. Men obviously appreciate a woman paying for a meal because it shows interest. It shows that, hey, look, you know what? I'm here and I'm enjoying your company. You know, I'm not here just to juice you and get what I can out of you. That shows a real sincere level of interest. I don't know what the hell Steve Harvey is talking about.
You know what? I really get sick of dating sites trying to play both sides of the fence. You want to match a woman up with somebody, but then you want her to be this totally independent, standalone person. Well, guess what? A man can't be an independent, standalone person.
Okay, let me stop him before he gets on to his simping again from the original clip. Now, is it dating sites want women to be independent, or have women been saying that for the past 30, 40 years that they are independent and they can do whatever a man can do, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? So why is he blaming that on the dating sites? And they're not trying to play both sides. They are not geared for people in Generation X and the baby boomer generation. Most dating sites are not catering towards those, unless it's specifically for, you know, people over 50 or in their 60s, or twilight dating or whatever they call it. So he's way off, and now he gets into this whole thing of men can't be independent. This is total nonsense here.
A man, a heterosexual man, is nothing without a woman. Zero. Nothing. Ask him.
He's wrong. You're asking one.
Ask any heterosexual man, and he'll tell you, without women, this don't work.
What doesn't work, Steve Harvey? What doesn't work? Because young men, look, young guys, do not take advice from these older simps. There were a lot on that post. If you go on that post, there were so many simps under there talking about how I would have paid for her meal. This guy was wrong. I mean, on both of them, you know, the one with the chick paying with coins, and then the other paying. No, this chick goes out and orders lobster and all this kind of. You pay for it, you know. And Steve Harvey said, young men, look, you should be on your purpose and on your grind. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be seriously dating until you have established yourself and you don't need anything. You know, you're self-sufficient. You're on your purpose. You're on your mission. It's like young lions. When they leave the world, when they get kicked out of a pride, they have to fend for themselves until they come into their own to where they could take over a pride. And then what do? Typically, they will form up with other young males who've been kicked out, and they have to hunt for themselves. They have to learn to do all the things that, you know, to become an adult lion in his prime before he can take over a pride. So when they take over a pride, then they reap the benefits and the spoils of that hard work when they were out on their own, fending for themselves. And that's the same way young men should be. You know, you go out and you grind and you get on your so then that way, guess what? You don't have to take anything. You don't have to listen to advice from simps like Steve Harvey saying that men should just be happy to be in a woman's presence. What is he talking about? In what world is he talking about?
This is nothing without you. Do you understand?
What is nothing without you?
That's period.
This simp
so
talk.
Stop teaching these women stuff that they don't need to know. If a man asks you out and he's not willing to buy you a plate of food, how can you possibly think that this guy can take care of a family? What
the hell does that have to do with?
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, you don't make any sense. You're absolutely right. You make no sense, because a guy going out on a date with a chick, who says he's ready to start taking care of a family? It's a date. And who says it's even with the purposes of having something long term? Kids go out on dates. They go out on dates to have fun. They're looking for sex or whatever. They're not looking for necessarily a long-term commitment that I gotta start taking care of a family. What is this guy talking about?
It don't make no sense.
Yeah, you don't make any sense.
You can't feed me, but we finna go somewhere and have some kids.
Who the hell, Steve? Why is he jumping straight into that? This guy is these guys, their minds, man, their minds are so stuck in la la land. They don't know how to upgrade the software to their brains, and it's clear. Every guy that goes on a date with a chick is not thinking about, okay, I'm gonna sit down and go somewhere and have some kids. Come on, Steve.
It's going to require constant feeding.
Look at this idiot.
Excuse me. Men, we know. Real men.
See, now it's the real men thing.
That if we take you out, we supposed to pay. We
No.
know that.
No. No, it depends on the two individuals, what they agreed upon. Like those women said in the other video. Some of them said, hey, I'd rather pay myself, so there's no expectations. He don't have no expectations. We went out, we had a good time, that was it. I don't have to worry about him thinking, okay, well, she got me for all this money and I expect anything. That's what he doesn't understand. That will alleviate, what that one woman said will alleviate a lot of this, I feel pressure to do something with this guy because he paid $120 and now he expects for us to have sex or whatever.
Know that. We already know that, man. Listen,
This is
let's
too much
stop
simping.
playing this game. We know the deal. Because let me explain something to you. When we're all across the room and we meet you, when we see you, we see the only reason we walk over to you and we start talking to you is because you have something we want.
Yes.
It's the
Sex.
only reason. We walk over to you because we see something we want.
Yes. But
Our
that don't mean
job
a
as men is to
family.
go over there and see what it's going to cost us to get what we want.
Right. And you try to get it for as little as possible. So if you don't
That's
have to
what
take
it
her
is.
out, so if you don't have to pay for a meal, you won't. What is it? He ain't going to tell all of the truth. Dudes are trying to get it, whatever it is that he want, most, and based on what he's saying, is most likely sex, right? That's the typical reason that a guy is going to go over to a woman that he finds attractive, is to have sex with this woman. And they want to get it for as least as possible. But Steve's not going to say this. I can't take any more of his simping. I just can't. So let me jump back over here. I want to share two other things real quick with you. I thought they were pretty funny. That these things would that like I said, this guy, he's not going to tell the truth about the situations that's going on here, and let's jump over to it real quick here. This guy refuses to be a simp. So so my man splits the check. Okay, I thought that's hilarious. My man is like, all right, look, it's not going anyplace. Okay, no problem. You told me, cool. Let's split the check. There's nothing wrong with that. And like I said, these guys are different than what came before us, right? So, and the last thing I want to share, because I pretty much gave my final thoughts, and there's one more thing here. This is hilarious right here. So these guys have a total different way of dating, right? So Steve Harvey talked about going over and approaching a woman. They don't even have to do this. They can slide in the DM, and that's it. So this guy slides in the DM, and he says, "Can I take you out?" She said, "I have a boyfriend. Sorry." My man says, "He can go too. He just gotta pay for himself." And then she laughs, right? And it's like, hey, look, laughing is half the battle. He got her laughing. Half the battle is won right there, because she shouldn't even entertain it if she really did have a boyfriend. But see, he's under the, hey, I'm asking you out, I'll pay for you. Hey, but your boyfriend, he got to pay for himself. And this is how these millennials are rolling, man. They're not rolling with this old school, I just have to pay. I have to pay because you're a woman. It's based upon who's asking who out first, and it just a protocol, and what they've established. You know, is it going to be anything serious? If not, we just kicking it, whatever, cool. But young men, man, please stop taking advice from these Generation X guys, and definitely not the baby boomers. If you get married and stuff like this, and these guys are married, they can have some good advice for you, right? Some advice, but take that too with a grain of salt. But dating in today's modern age, in 2021, do not take Steve Harvey or these other baby boomer simp advice. And Generation X, my generation got a lot of simps in it. Take their advice, like this guy here. I'm not the stepfather, I'm the father that stepped up. Like, what kind of simp stuff is? I mean, these dudes clearly deserve the Simp Sauce Award, right? I gotta get a Simp Sauce Award for some of these dudes coming up. But those are my final thoughts, brothers. Peace, Rebel family.